Chapter 134 to 136. The day Yuto returned to the village was very cold. The village didn't organize a public welcome. The shinobi returning from the Western Front directly went to the Hokage's office to report, were reassigned, and then rested, preparing for the new year. As the vice commander, Yuto naturally had to meet the Hokage first. In the office, Hiruzen Sarutobi stood by the window, his figure surprisingly stooped. Time had finally begun to take its toll on this ninjutsu professor. His beloved student's departure from the village, the successive battles, and the pressure to suppress the unruly shinobi clans. By the second year of the Shinobi World War, Hiruzen's hair had turned significantly gray. "Yuto," the Hokage said without turning, taking a drag from his pipe. "How's the front line?" Yuto relayed the message from Shin Uchiha. "Hokage-sama, the troops in the Land of Rain are fine, but Uchiha seems very worried about the Moon God." "The Moon God, huh? He's indeed a troublesome fellow. First the Byakugan, then the Wood Release. One day he'll probably target the Sharingan too. Uchiha's concern isn't unfounded. Hokage-sama, because of the Moon God, the Kekkei Genkai families on the front line are in a state of anxiety. My eyes see fear in the warriors facing imminent death. They might not fear death, but no one can calmly face the executioner's blade hanging over them." Hearing Yuto's words, Hiruzen fell silent for a moment before asking a strange question. "Yuto, you haven't returned to the clan compound, have you?" "No, Hokage-sama. I came here first." "You can go back now." "Yes, Hokage-sama." Yuto left the Hokage's office, a bit puzzled. Was Hiruzen angry? What did I say wrong? That shouldn't be... However, just as he was turning to leave, the Hokage's voice suddenly echoed in his ear. "Come back here at 3 in the morning. Avoid everyone. Maybe then you'll understand why I called you." Though confused, Yuto still left the Hokage's office after bowing. He first went to greet Tsunade, and then returned to the Hyuga clan compound. The compound was still orderly. With the clan's strict hierarchy, there was no chance for it to be lively. Strict and ancient, like a decaying old tree most of the time, the compound was eerily quiet, as if no one lived there. However, because of Hiruzen's words, Yuto carefully observed his clan members and noticed an undercurrent of excitement beneath the oppressive atmosphere. Excitement? Yuto frowned. Was it because of the village's intensified Byakugan protection policy? The thought crossed his mind, but he dismissed it as unlikely. Overthinking was useless. Yuto shook his head and returned home, planning to ask the third Hokage for clarification at 3 in the morning. However, as the sun set, Hayashi Hyuga sent someone to tell him to meet. With thoughts of, "I'll gouge out your eyes in a couple of years," Yuto respectfully followed the messenger to the clan leader's room. "Come closer, Yuto-kun." Hayashi gestured to the tatami in front of him. "I have something to ask you." "Yes, clan leader." Yuto sat down near Hayashi, hearing the heavy wooden door being shut tightly behind him. Inside, Hayashi, wearing a white cloak, looked at Yuto with something burning deep in his eyes. "Have you fought the Moon God?" "Yes, but I was no match for him and was defeated almost instantly." "Does the Moon God's style really have traces of gentle fist?" "Yes." Yuto knew this couldn't be hidden. He habitually relaxes the joints in his fingers when he speaks, starting with the ring finger and ending with the thumb and pinky. This is a habit formed from years of practicing gentle fist. Hayashi's clenched hand tightened, his gaze growing hotter. "Yuto-kun, do you think Mako is dead?" "Clan leader, I'm not familiar with Mako-sama. Just tell me your thoughts." "I believe Mako-sama is not dead. If he wanted to kill, the Moon God could have killed any of us in that forest. But Mako-sama just disappeared, and there were no signs of a battle at the disappearance site." "Just as I thought. The Moon God is a Hyuga clan member and captured Mako. Could he really be Shinosuke?" Hayashi closed his eyes, saying something that shocked Yuto. there's over a 90% chance he is Shinosuke. The clan will contact him, solely representing the will of the Hyuga. Yuto narrowed his eyes, reacting as befitting his position. Clan leader! He stood up, looking at Hiyashi in disbelief. Collaborating with the enemy. Are you planning to defect? Don't put it so harshly. The Hyuga will always be loyal to Konoha and the Hokage. We won't betray the alliance formed at the village's founding. However, contacting a lost child is also my duty as clan leader. The two pairs of pure white eyes stared at each other. Slowly, Yuto lowered his head. But, clan leader, the moon god is an enemy the village wants to kill. Shinosuke is a Hyuga and a member of the main family. Hiyashi's tone suddenly turned serious. Clan first, then the village. Yuto took a deep breath and said no more. He understood the reason behind the excitement in the compound. After capturing Meiko, the idea that the moon god is Shinosuke was almost certain. For the Hyuga clan, this was undoubtedly good news. Byakugan could gain new power in some way, just like the Sharingan. Yuto, even if we don't act, the village will. Hiyashi softened. Shinosuke didn't kill Meiko, proving he hasn't severed his past ties. That means there's room for negotiation. If there's room for negotiation and a deal to be made, the village's bargaining chips will always be greater than the clan's. After all, if Shinosuke wants the Sharingan, it would be hard to get from within the clan. Yuto, you're smart. For yourself and for the clan, from now on, you must monitor the actions of the Hokage's office. After all, you are a trusted member of the teacher-student line. They trust you. At 3 in the morning, the temperature in the snowy night was lower than during the day. Yuto put on another layer of clothing before heading to the office as agreed. Inside, Hiruzen stood by the window, seemingly unmoved all day. Yuto, unlike other young shinobi, you always manage to think on a higher level. He got straight to the point. I know deep down you prioritize the village over the clan. And once called the Jewel of the Hyuga, you are deeply trusted by the main family. So, from now on you must monitor the actions of the Hyuga clan. Feeling the office was too stifling, Hiruzen and Yuto silently stepped outside, standing on the rooftop of the Hokage building. The night breeze blew gently. Yuto knelt on one knee, head lowered, not saying a word. Yuto-kun, the third Hokage sighed. The village might be on the brink of destruction. Hokage-sama? Yuto-kun, listen to me. Hiruzen pointed towards the Hokage rock in the distance. 50 years ago, with the Senju and Uchiha clans at the core, many powerful shinobi clans gathered and established the one village, one nation system. Although the Ninja Academy has produced more and more core strength, we must never lose our Kekkei Genkai to protect the village. Unity, casting aside hatred, this is the will of fire. But now, the Hyuga are doing things contrary to the will of fire. Yuto-kun, how does it feel to return to the Hyuga clan? Hokage-sama, the clan seems happy. Of course they are happy. Hiruzen sighed helplessly. The likelihood of Moon God being Shinosuke is over 90%, and his abilities are very similar to those of the Akatsuki member with the Rinnegan. The Byakugan can evolve. It's not just the Hyuga, even other high-ranking members of Konoha think so. New powers, new dojutsu, no shinobi can resist this temptation, especially the gradually declining Hyuga clan. Hokage-sama, Yuto spoke timely. Positioned as a genius of the Hyuga clan who cares about the village but also loves his family, it was impossible for him to remain silent. To express his emotions, he deliberately sped up his speech. The clan head would never betray the village. I believe in Hiyashi, but as the Hokage, I must be prepared, Hiruzen said calmly. Yuto-kun, 2 years ago, when Tetsuro Sugiura died in battle, you said you wanted a reward that everyone in the village would be satisfied with. At that moment, I realized you had already broken free from the shackles of bloodline and could think from the perspective of the whole village. Yuto-kun, Nearly 3 years have passed. You have transformed from the jewel of the Hyuga into the lone lion. Now, tell me, have you wavered in your answer? After a long silence, Yuto replied with a bitter voice, "My answer will never change. Hokage-sama, I will monitor the clan members." Hiruzen patted his shoulder comfortingly. Things haven't reached the worst point yet. The Hyuga may do something extreme for the method to evolve the Byakugan, but Hiashi wouldn't easily gamble the fate of the entire clan. I absolutely trust him on this. I just want to gather as much information on the Hyuga as possible. This is to protect the village and to protect the Hyuga. Even if there is conflict, the village and the Hyuga must remain honest with each other. Avoid misunderstandings. Prevent strategic misjudgments. So, Yuto-kun, you are the bridge of peace. Yuto almost laughed out loud. This is the first time I've heard of someone using a powder keg as a bridge. Time flew by, and Yuto had already been in the village for half a month. The village hadn't assigned him a new position, allowing the branch family member to live quite a carefree life. No missions, no piles of official duties to handle. Every day was just training in the Senju clan grounds, drinking tea after getting tired, watching the sunset with Tsunade, and waiting for a new day. One afternoon, 20 kilometers outside Konoha, in a certain mountain forest. Boom! A huge rock fell to the ground. Yuto dodged it, veins bulging around his temples, his vision extremely wide. Ha! Tsunade's voice rang in his ear, followed by a foot landing squarely on Yuto's shoulder. He didn't dodge. Instead, he supported the foot with both hands, enduring the heavenly foot of pain. Both he and Tsunade exerted their monstrous strength, their bodies quickly sinking, crushing the low mountain beneath them. Revolving heaven. Due to his age and training duration, Yuto's absolute strength was not as great as Tsunade's. As he was about to be overwhelmed, he spun rapidly, using the unique defense technique of the Byakugan. Bouncing Tsunade away, Yuto swung his right hand, launching a lion's fang bite fiercely towards the blonde woman's abdomen. Tsunade didn't hesitate, gathering chakra and throwing a punch towards her student's head, a deadly exchange move. Although both had the creation rebirth, as a descendant of both Senju and Uzumaki, Tsunade's vitality was 10 times greater than Yuto's. The best strategy was to trade blows and fight to the death. Boom! Boom! 2 gusts of wind erupted in the collapsing, shattered forest as master and student stopped simultaneously. The fists, containing immense strength, stopped just short of each other's abdomen and forehead. Not bad, Yuto. Tsunade sighed, rubbing her shoulder. Your taijutsu has improved. Combined with the explosive tag multiplication, Byakugan, and your self-created lion's fang bite, you can now rival Jiraiya and Orok. Her eyes dimmed. Humph, even saying that bastard's name might bring bad luck. Sensei, where did Orochimaru-sama went to? Yuto asked curiously, panting heavily. I remember he appeared in the Land of Rain during the ambush on Moon God as one of the 4 Red Yang formation users. He ran away, of course. Don't be fooled by his cold demeanor. He's actually the most cowardly and afraid of the old man. When he made mistakes as a child, he would hide in the woods playing with snakes and only come back when it was dark, Tsunade said with a huff. I never thought Orochimaru-sama had such a past, Yuto chuckled. Just as he was about to say more, a clear shout came from a distance. Tsunade-sama, Yuto-san, you two have messed up the terrain again. Really? The village elders are going to nag again. 13-year-old Shizune approached, carrying a lunchbox. She was a year younger than Yuto and had already grown into a beautiful young lady. Tsunade shrugged nonchalantly. There's no one here. What if the village had set up alert devices and traps here? Tsunade-sama, can you and Yuto-san restrain yourselves during training? Shizune pouted, not daring to get angry at Tsunade, and instead glared secretly at Yuto. He didn't mind extending his hand with a smile. Give me the lunchbox, I'm hungry. I'll train for a few more hours. Sensei, Shizune, you two go back first. No way, ouch! Tsunade, knocking Shizune's head lightly and handing the lunchbox to Yuto. "We'll leave first. Shizune, Yuto still needs to finish his gentle fist training for the day." "Learn from your sensei, Shizune. This is what a mature kunoichi does," Yuto said with a smile, taking the lunchbox. He discreetly scratched the blonde woman's palm in the process. Tsunade's expression remained calm, still smiling as she talked with Shizune, though a fine sweat seemed to form on her neck. Watching them walk farther away, Yuto opened the lunchbox and ate everything inside, then activated his Byakugan to check the surroundings. He then used a summoning jutsu, slipping a piece of paper into a slug's body. "Give this to Kitsu," Yuto whispered. On that white paper, a sentence was written in English. "Regarding Moon God's whereabouts, a tale can be revealed. Yuto." A familiar voice echoed as Yuto opened his eyes to see a blonde woman entering the room. "Someone from the Hyuga clan is here for you," Tsunade said, glancing at her student's chest and handing him a white kimono. "Get dressed." "Yes, sensei." Yuto got up and checked the time. It was 2:30 in the morning. Even in the village of Shinobi, this was a time for absolute rest. "What's Hiyashi up to at this hour?" Tsunade yawned, clearly irritated. "This is exhausting." "Something might have happened, sensei. Did we wake Shizune?" "No, once Shizune's asleep, she sleeps like a log." "Ha ha ha ha." Yuto's eyes showed a hint of amusement. He dressed quickly, grabbed his shinobi gear, and left the house. Outside the gates of the Senju compound, a Hyuga Chunin waited. "Yuto-sama, the clan head requests your presence." "Understood." Yuto waved his hand and followed the clansmen through several streets to the Hyuga compound. The central house flickered with the light of dozens of candles placed in various corners, casting a shadowy, eerie glow on the wooden furniture. Yuto knelt on one knee, alongside other important clan members, waiting for Hiyashi Hyuga to speak. "We've found traces of the moon god." Hiyashi's first words sent a shockwave through the room. Though the Hyuga clan had long sought to find Shinosuke Hyuga, the so-called moon god, and the secret to evolving the Byakugan, the moon god was elusive. Finding his trace was an incredibly difficult task. Moreover, even if Shinosuke was indeed the moon god, having killed so many Konoha shinobi, who could guarantee he wouldn't attack his own clan? After the Hyuga clan set a plan to secretly contact the moon god, it didn't take long for them to achieve such promising results. Anyone with a brain would think this might be a trap. "The information comes from the land of rain," Hiyashi continued, ignoring the reactions below. "A bounty station there received a visit from a person wearing a Hanya mask. Nowadays, few dare to wear such masks because of the moon god." "Clan head," an elderly Hyuga member questioned, "bounty stations have rules to protect their clients' privacy. Their information might be false." "It's not," Hiyashi replied. "The moon god once deceived the bounty station in the land of hot water. Although he can still trade there, the station will no longer conceal his whereabouts." Hiyashi paused and produced a prepared scroll. "Besides the bounty station, there are other witnesses. Everything is detailed in this report." Yuto scanned the scroll. The first line read, "A spy within the Akatsuki has leaked information. The moon god is suspected to be heading to the underworld." A smile played on Yuto's lips. He knew this must be the handiwork of the Senju clone. It had been 5 days since Yuto sent a message to Kitsu via a slug summon. Kitsu, being a decisive person, had likely leaked this information effortlessly, causing a stir with just a bit of news about the moon god. Wearing a Hanya mask in public would solidify the intel. After reading the report, most believed it to some extent. What troubled them was the kunai-shaped mark in the bottom right corner of each scroll, indicating the information came from the ANBU. The village was aware of the moon god's appearance at the bounty station. "Don't worry about the village," Hiyashi soothed, noting the clan's concerns. The Hokage has decided to treat the moon god passively. Gather intelligence, be prepared, but do not engage. Many Hyuga exchanged glances, silently communicating. A fervent desire simmered in the room. As a powerful clan, the Hyuga had significant autonomy. To compensate for the losses from the moon god's ambush, Hiruzen Sarutobi granted them many privileges. They had the capacity to dispatch forces outside the village, and the Hokage wouldn't object. But deciding who would go was tricky. Even if Shinosuke was the moon god, there was no guarantee of successful negotiation. Finding him could mean encountering deadly forces. "I'll lead the team," Hiyashi announced. "To uncover the secret of these eyes as clan head, I must go. Showing sincerity is key to negotiations. My life on the line should earn us at least a conversation." Despite the clan's protests, Hiyashi calmly assigned the team. Rina, Harupe, Yuichi, Yuto. He named several others. Besides Hiyashi, only one elder was of his age. "Meet at the village gate in half an hour." Yuto hurried back to the Senju compound to find Tsunade still awake, shaping freshly gathered snow. "Back already?" Tsunade glanced at him. "Looks like you're heading on a mission?" "Yes, a clan mission." Yuto strapped explosive tags to his wrist for easy access. "Bringing those? Is Hayashi hunting a tailed beast?" "It's a clan mission, sensei. I can't say more." Yuto shrugged, adjusting his headband. "Humph." Tsunade frowned, leaving the room but deliberately bumping Yuto's shoulder on her way out. Yuto didn't mind, continuing to prepare his gear. Once ready, he ran to the back mountain, leaned against a tree, and summoned a black rod, stabbing it into his chest. Blood splattered, but Yuto endured the pain, healing the wound with the mystical palm technique and wrapping it in bandages. Arriving at the village gate with 5 minutes to spare, he found the other Hyuga members already there. Despite the danger, the lure of evolving the Byakugan was irresistible. Hiyashi glanced at the Hokage rock. They would either gain new power or face total annihilation. There was no middle ground. Although arrangements had been made, the loss of this elite group would still be a severe blow to the Hyuga clan. But there's no turning back now. With this resolve, Hiyashi led the group into the forest, vanishing from Konoha's outskirts.